Good night, friends of the excellent acknowledge the presence of the Almighty. Heavenly Father, the omnipresent God, omnipotent God, we thank you for your presence this evening in our midst. We thank you for life, for strength. We thank you, oh God, that we can come together as one body to speak to the nation of Barbados. Father, we ask for your wisdom, for your guidance, for strategies this evening as we speak. May we speak the truth. May we speak with integrity. May we speak only what you will have us to say. May you keep us as one, united, one purpose, one focus for the needs of the people of Barbados. Father, we ask, mighty God, that you, O Lord, strengthen us. May we not get discouraged, but may we grow from strength to strength in the name of Jesus. Father, we thank you for the strategies that you will give to us so that we can relay them to the people of Barbados. Strategy for a better standard of living. Strategy, my God, hallelujah. Strategy, oh Lord God, that will lift up this nation, Barbados. Strategy, oh Lord God, for fair justice. Strategy, mighty God, so peace can reign in this island. Father, grant us new policies, hallelujah, that we can release to your people. Father, you are the Most High God. You reign and rule over this proceeding this evening. Reign and rule over this island, Barbados. We declare that this island, Barbados, is blessed. The people in every parish is blessed. Father, we thank you for all that you will do in this nation, Barbados. We thank you for the friends of democracy that they will impact this nation. We ask you for speed, O Lord. Establish this political party in this island, Barbados, that we may reach each and every one, hallelujah, and that they will hear, hallelujah, they will have a heart for the people, and the people likewise will have a heart for this new party. Father, we thank you for all that you will do. Give us listening ears that we will hear the people of Barbados, and likewise the people of Barbados will hear and respond. Father, you are a good God, and your mercies endureth forever. So let your will be done this evening. Let your will be done in this country, Barbados. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen and amen.
Sure. Fella? Right. I could hold that. Oh, okay, I got you. If I do this, okay. It's on. Good night. And welcome on behalf of the Friends of Democracy Political Party to each and everyone here at Clara's Hideaway Bar in St. Philip, the friends following in Barbados, and those viewing throughout the diaspora. It is our pleasure to bring you another in the series on the front step. According to Eleanor Roosevelt, it is better to light a candle than to curse the darkness. This evening, Friends of Democracy will light several candles as our members dispel the doubt and darkness, reflect on current issues, build awareness, explore solutions to challenges, and share our thoughts and plans to build a better Barbados. Stay with us. You will not regret it. This evening, we will begin with a winning way. We will have our first speaker to address you in the person of none other than Pastor Matthew Thorne. Friend Matthew Thorne is a pastor, philanthropist, and entrepreneur dedicated to helping individuals discover and live out their true purpose, guided by the belief that the greatest strategy in life is not death, but a life without purpose. He has spent the past decade serving communities through counseling, volunteerism, and mentoring young men. Matthew has created opportunities for individuals in need to earn a living and has contributed his leadership skills to several charitable boards, including Walking in Wholeness Ministry and the Drug Education and Counseling Services. Valuing family, righteousness, human life, and justice, his life's work is centered on empowering others to become the best versions of themselves. Let us welcome friend and pastor, Matthew Thorne.
Thank you so much, Wilma. New backdrop, I'm shifting to the left side. A wonderful good evening. Thank you so much, Wilma. You have been excellent so far and will continue to be. A wonderful good evening again to everyone that is here. Good evening to those viewing online. Good evening to those that are friends, those that are not yet friends, but friends to be. Wilma pretty much hit the nail on the head, and let me just say, you know, I lit a few candles of my own, but I have a candle to light tonight. But not only tonight, but I also, I heard recently the statistics with the declining birth rate, for those of you that saw the news sometime, it was this week, right? And they published those figures and we saw how drastic that was. But I've been doing my part, you know, with my 2 children, maybe 3 next year, 3 might be 4. And, you know, as Wilma started out, that had a lot to do with some candles that I lit at home in the dark. but on a serious note, you know, that's a serious problem. I personally, I'm not sure how many of you were aware of the numbers, but I found that to be shocking. Shocking that it could go for so long and not be brought before, so people can begin to address it and do something about it. But I don't want to make that the focus this evening. I really want to address a couple of things. And one of the areas that I've been looking at as Friends of Democracy, and I think it's really critical at this juncture, would be national empowerment through education. We have made the point at the last Front Step meeting. We've made the point before that. You've heard it from friend Raymond's mouth. You've heard it from my mouth. And we talk a lot about the link that it has to crime. How many of you would agree? Right, there is a link to crime and education. But I can come a bit later to that. Because we want to begin to shift the students of our country. We want to begin to shift young people away from just doing exams and just, honestly, I remember even from my time, sometimes you just do the exam to pass the exam, right? Just to get the grade and to move on to the next level. But I think that we have to begin to reimagine our education, and I think it has a lot to do with reimagining our culture. So it's not just an exam for a moment, but it's a way that we approach the exam so we can take the things that we pick up from that primary or secondary level and take with us and apply it beyond then and apply it to life skills in essence. And you know, we raised that at the last Front Step meeting. We want to begin to equip young people, I think, with skills in technology, renewable energy, agriculture, and yes, we hear the government talking about some of these things, and I can come back to that in a minute. But it's important for schools to begin to function as more than schools, just how schools transform, right? During the hurricane season into shelters, we want to see schools transform into community hubs. Begin to change the culture around education. When I talk with some young people, it's as if, you don't want to learn, you don't want to be in the classroom. But what if we could reimagine our education system where there is a level of excitement to be in the classroom, because not only are they being taught by teachers that genuinely care and love the students and have an interest in the well-being of the students, right? But the subjects being taught are translatable to the 21st century in 2025. A lot of that will be artificial intelligence. I spoke on that briefly, and I talked about how that will become artificial general intelligence, going on to artificial super intelligence. Those are things that persons haven't even begun to properly conceptualize or really understand those concepts, right? But those are things that I think young people, if you think of persons born after probably 2020 or after 1990, I know sometimes you will hear grandmothers and grandfathers say how easily they interact with the smartphone, right? How easily they interact with technology. And that's where we can have a focus on technology, which, yes, SJPI does do, but I want to see that brought into the classrooms where we begin to start that earlier, because it will have a profound impact in the generations to come. We believe that every child, regardless of parish or background, we believe that they deserve the same quality of teachers, resources, and education. Look, it's no secret that we've got problems in education. And I'll be honest with you, it is difficult to govern. But that cannot be an excuse because of the level of importance that the education system, or as I like to call it, the education culture, has for the young people that will one day be the people that are sitting here, that will one day become friends of democracy, that will one day seek opportunity here and to seek opportunity abroad. I think it was 2 weeks ago, we saw the current Minister of Education announce some changes to the education system. Now, we could debate on those changes, whether they're good, whether they're bad, what you thought about them, your personal opinions. But one thing that I found alarming, and this is why I talk about culture, because the culture in education isn't just how we teach our students in the classroom. Just now I spoke about how students perceive education and receive education. But part of that culture is how we approach the education within the Ministry of Education and without the Ministry of Education. I found it interesting that at the time I saw there was a news article that came out shortly after where the president of the Barbados Union of Teachers, Mr. Rudy Lovell, he came out and said he wasn't even consulted. And I was like, what do you mean he wasn't consulted? So you mean to tell me that you just made an announcement and the president, Rudy Lovell of the Barbados Union of Teachers, can come out in the paper and say, well, they didn't consult we on something as significant as what they came to announce to Barbados? That's correct. We wonder where the consultation is. Look, anybody that knows me knows I'm a fair person. I'm a fair person, and I recognize that there's not everything that we can consult on. But I think that we know that there are some things that need consultation, especially within people that exist in that particular sector. In other words, if I came back here next Sunday and said, all right, I can hold a little birthday line, I can't just show up. I gotta reach out to the owner, the proprietor here at Clara's bar. I gotta reach out to Karina, I gotta reach out to Steve. I gotta talk with somebody. I can't just show up. I can't just announce what I intend to do without persons that are significant to that particular area. And I wonder then if it's just a matter of window dressing, or if there's something else that needs to be addressed and looked at within the leadership of our country. But I'll be honest with you, if Karina was the Prime Minister and I was a part of the government of Barbados, I can tell you that we would not only focus on training the minds of the youth to lead in the world of tech that I talk about. And what that might look, to make it real simple, that may be something as simple as instead of giving the young men and young women a broom to sweep the roads. Okay, that is better than nothing. All right, I understand. What if we took those same young men and young women and we put them into a classroom? Because education never ends, huh? We learn from the day we are born to the day that we die. So we put them in a classroom and we give them the tools behind a computer to code robots that can be built to begin to do the same cleaning on the road, which gives them an enhanced sense of purpose. It means that they can now begin to form a company. They can now, instead of doing the actual work, which they may find redundant or menial, they can be the ones to program the machines that are doing the cleaning on the streets. They can be the one that can take that and form a company and export that technology overseas. And that leads me back to say, okay, in the Caribbean, what are we heralded for besides sports? I mean, there are probably a few other things, but why can't we be on the forefront of technology? Why can't we and our young people be up front and leading on the cutting edge of things such as artificial intelligence and robotics? And I think part of the issue is that for a long time in this country, we've put round pegs in square holes in triangles, triangles in octagons, and for a long time we have not had the right people in the right places doing what should be done. So you see, if there comes a time, God willing, as my sister prayed, where we have the opportunity to lead the people in a place of light out of darkness, it is not just going to be a case where we reimagine education and culture, but I think that we have to hold our leaders in education accountable. Because it is that accountability, we have to hold them accountable for their failure. And I think that there would be no opportunity for repeated and prolonged failure. Because it is that repeated and prolonged failure that has us where we are. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that because a person doesn't function in that place, because that may very well be me in a couple of years. That might very well be you that sits in that place as Minister of Education. But what has to happen is that when you see that there's something that can be done better by somebody else, we have to shelve arrogance, we have to shelve pride, we have to shelve the notion that there's no one else that can do it, the ideas can come from me and me alone. We got to shelve that. So when are we going to shelve it? I believe, Karina, can I say the Goodridge administration? I believe that there's a time where the Goodridge administration would seek to ensure that the right people are serving in the right areas. I honestly believe that's a big part of our problem here in Barbados. And I'm not ignorant to think that that's an isolated issue, Steve. I see that has a global connection. But we ain't living on the globe. We're living here in Barbados, and the people need to have a bigger voice when it comes to their representation. I often say that the people in the country are a representation of the leadership of the country. And that can be said about a household with children and parents. And it can be said about any other organization. And sometimes we ask ourselves, where is the consultation that we should have? Because we can go back to the day in 2018, we can go back to independence, we can go back to a lot of various things and ask ourselves, where has it gone to? And it's no different when it comes to the tint, huh? Because I've heard members of the ruling party, I've heard members of the Friends of Democracy, the opposition of Barbados. I've heard people calling on the programs. I've heard people talk about it over and over and over, and there seems to be a consensus that what the government has been seeking to do through the tint legislation once again seems to be window dressing. Because I submitted to the media how it says, okay, we have a concern saying we have a safety concern for our police officers, and by all means, that has to be a focal point. That's dangerous work, and we respect and we want every member of the Royal Barbados Police Service to be safe and to execute their duties. So for that reason, might it not have made sense that in the event you're doing a traffic stop, to have persons in the vehicle to lower the windows completely, to turn off the engine or turn off the car, since it got batteries. If it's at night, you turn on the roof light. You make your hands visible, right? Because I see these things practiced properly in other countries. But you see, it feels to me as if there is some element of deception regarding as to why it has been hammered home. And I know one of my friends later is going to talk a bit more about it, so I'm going to be brief. Because I can be honest with you, the addressing of crime in this way seems to be cosmetic. It honestly does not seem to me that this can be a permanent solution to solve the issue of crime and violence in this country. I remember last time on the Front Step meeting, we did say between friend Raymond and myself, we talked about the real focus needing to be on addressing poverty, needing to be on addressing unemployment. Just now I gave an idea as to how that can balloon, not only here using the AI and the robotics, not only just here, but balloon across the region and set the trend. Why is it that when people have to look at Barbados, it seems just to be a place that is backward, a place where you got melanated people that can't seem to get anything right and can't seem to govern themselves? You may not hear these things, but this is what is discussed on the international stage. And that is because we have leaders that do not put the people first. We have leaders that do not truly care about the men and the women and the future of our children in this country. I think that is part of the primary, not the entire issue, but part of the primary issue that we face in Barbados. So again, I have to ask myself, or ask you, or ask the government, is it simply window dressing? Is it simply window dressing? Is there any connection between the implementation of this legislation and needing money for certain things because it is required by certain people? Does it have any connection to the IMF? For those that are journalists in our country, is it something that we are seeking to investigate? Because to me, it seems deceitful and dangerous, in my opinion. But I want to say to you that if I was Karina, if Karina was the Prime Minister, if Karina was the Prime Minister of this country and I was a part of her government, I want to say to you that, first of all, we would not in any form or fashion seek to burden the people of this country with an additional cost because they have been a part of the 98 or 99% that are law-abiding citizens in this country. So you mean to tell me that because you have a few people that are not following the rules, everybody got a toe the line? Everybody has to be punished because you have a very small minority to whom you understand the networks of. But for whatever reason, cannot bring them to justice. I have a problem with that. And not only, I think, as an administration, do we think it is unjust to burden the people with cost at this point in time. Even if you said, okay, you know what, let's put this thing back, you know, for a period of time. I've been hearing, I agree, forever. Even if it's forever or for a period of time, you hear persons, you know, ask about what about vehicles that have the thing built into to the glasses, and you're not hearing the requisite clauses to bring those persons out from under the hammer. So what about them? But I want to say that I don't think that's the direction that we should go. And I believe it was two front steps ago, Karina, 2 front steps ago when she talked about the VAT as something that we will remove. The VAT that has been a lasso around the necks of the people, along with this one that they're creating. Trying to slide it in the back door, but they seem to be sliding a lot of things through the back door apart from the cost on the tint, right? But I agree with her, and I think that is something that as an administration we will do, and that's the removal of the VAT. The people's backs are broken. Some of them, the backs are hurting. Jason, the back's hurting. For others, some people say, we come and we address bread and butter issues, but my friends, the reality is there are some that have no bread, and there are some that have no butter. So where does that leave the masses after you tax them and burden them to death? Because if you say to me that we have a declining birth rate, and then there's a correlation between the hike in prices and costs and taxes and everything else going up, and there's a clear relation to those, but yet there is no respite for the people. It appears as if there's some place that they have for everybody to go. And it is not a hotel. So as I conclude, and I have a habit of concluding a couple of times. So this is probably the first of my conclusions, but I'll be brief because we had a late start, and I know that there are other persons that have a lot that they need to unpack and share, because there's some really serious things happening in this country. And the persons that come to me, and the persons that come to the other speakers here tonight, and they ask us to share things on their behalf because they do not have a voice. And they do not feel in some cases that they can share things safely and reasonably. And therefore we are here. We are here for the people. We're here to represent them. We're here to be their voice. And that's why the Friends of Democracy exists. It existed yesterday, it existed today, and it will exist tomorrow. And as my sister prayed as a man of faith, at some point in time, there'll be a place for that. There'll be a place for that. Let me continue. Let me continue. So I guess I want to say that consultation matters. It matters because I believe that you that are here, I believe that you're important. I believe that you're special. As I said before, you cannot consult on everything. Leaders must lead. But one of the things that I think we have lost consultation on that is very important, and I think it is important now more than ever. And Wilma alluded, is Wilma, right? Wilma alluded to some of that as she shared a little bit about me and what I stand for. And that has a lot to do with the moral compass of this country being fractured. You see, for a very long time, religion, largely through the church, it has shaped our values in Barbados. And we've had a respect for life. We've had a respect for justice, family. We've had a respect for community, have we not? We've had a respect for each other, regardless of if it is something that we ourselves agreed with. We can say that there was a time where people yes, they used to go to church, but they also used to when it comes to their grievances, let me just say when it comes to their grievances, they used to talk about it. You know, they used to reason with one another. And it seems that the tolerance and unity that we have come to be accustomed to, well, maybe not my generation, but the ones that are older here this evening. The ones that are hearing my message from St. Lucie to St. Philip, from St. James to St. John, you that knew a different Barbados. I want to remind you, I want to tell you, if no one else has told you before, I believe that we can have that Barbados again. I believe that what this country so desperately needs are people that care about the nation, care about the citizens of this country. I'm serious. And that's what's always been lacking. For a long time, we've seen the church and other faith-based organizations partner with government. We've seen, yes, there used to be some discussions. Oftentimes, I wondered if it was superficial. I'm not saying that it was. But here or late, we see that those discussions seem to be only have the intellectual capacity, like our president, but also the spiritual capacity. There seems to be a tremendous void in that area. I want to see, and I think we want to see, and I know that you want to see, a Barbados where our progress is not only measured about the money that we rake in via taxes, which we have to do, and other dirty carpet, sun shielding cost. But I think that the true progress of a nation has to be a part. True progress must be a part of our moral and spiritual way of life. The Word of God says, what does it profit a person? To gain everything, to govern everything, to rule with an iron fist, but to lose your soul, to lose your country. Year after year, decade after decade, we have seen politicians, of which I am not, they would rather sit at the funerals of our young men and our young women year after year and decade after decade than to stand in Parliament and to fight for laws that will keep them out of the cemetery, and to fight for laws that would bring about a different culture and education that would save them. Because at the end of the day, it is persons like myself, the mothers that called us ball and a hole in the belly, it is you that hear me, it is you that know of people that have lost loved ones at the hand of violence. And yet, for some reason, I don't know, but when I attend the funeral of these guys that are 17 and 27 and 12, you mean there's nothing that moves you? That they have not lived? That they have not only died, but they have not fulfilled the life and purpose that God has given to them? There should be something in us that says enough is enough. And we have to have a radical intervention. Like when our young brother, I think it was a few months ago, a young man that died at the age of, was it 12? 13? That's a horror. But as I close, no, seriously, as my time wraps up, I want to say to you, ladies and gentlemen, tonight, on a very serious note, I want to guarantee you that a Goodridge-led administration, a Goodridge-led administration of which I'm a part of that government, of whom we have a young woman that holds God as her head. She's not only brilliant in her intellect, she's not only decent in her morals, but she has that spiritual mooring and compass. You see, that has always been missing. And for the first time in Barbados' history, we have a person that has all three. And I can see a future. Wilma talked about the light that Barbados needs. And I believe that the light is not only in good governments. Our Prime Minister is a brilliant woman. It's not only in good governance. I ain't gonna knock that. But I'm telling you that there's something that is going to be required on a spiritual level, because we're not just people. How many of you know that? But we're spiritual people that have bodies, and how many of us know we have souls? So a lot of times we focus on the physical and we focus on the mental, but we neglect the spiritual aspect of ourselves. So I can see a future where under a Goodridge-led administration that the people begin to live lives of prosperity, because the Word of God does say that righteousness exalts a nation. You see, we have proof that that is true. We have proof that it has happened before. And let me tell you, if God has done it before, He can do it again. So I can see a light in the midst of a darkness. When we have the right leadership in this country, let me translate it for you, because I'm not trying to get religious for you. I'm just trying to show you that righteousness translates to what? It translates to success. It translates to a life where people can live a comfortable life, where people can still choose the lifestyles that they want. Don't get me wrong. This isn't beating anybody over the head with the Bible. We recognize that even in our own organization, you're not going to have persons that share your beliefs and views. And that is fine. That is the sort of mass party that we are. And we reflect a diversity where people can come and feel comfortable. But let me share with you the righteousness that God has for this country. When He has a person in Miss Goodridge to bring it through, that will translate to persons now having bread, persons now having butter, persons being able to go and get a loan and to be able to live comfortably. For the first time, I think, in our country, as we have people that care about the citizens, care truly and genuinely care. I truly, truly believe that persons can begin to live a life of purpose. I truly believe that persons for the first time will be able to choose the lifestyles that they want to have. Persons will be able to think outside the box and begin to realize that there's a lot more in this world. Look, anything that I put my mind to, I can achieve. But how many do you know? How many of you, I got 30 seconds left. How many persons believe? How many persons know that there are young people that don't have that conviction? I'm serious. They don't have that conviction. And that's right. There's just a menial existence. And you cannot become all that God has for you if you are subpar to the standard that He's called you to. Come on now. Come on now. So as I close, this is it. This is it. I put my phone in my pocket. I want to say to you that for a long time we've been trapped. Look, I'm serious. We've been trapped between a rock and a hard place. You understand what I'm saying to you? We've been trapped between a rock and a hard place because we have always had one big uniparty in this country. A uniparty. Two options. If it ain't A, it's B. And if both of them bad, God help you. But a rock and a hard place is a terrible place to be. But tonight I want to say to the people of Barbados, tonight I want to say to the men and women of this country that have suffered from voter apathy, that have put the book under the bed and they've shelved their ideas, they've shelved the dreams and visions that they had. No longer do you need to shelf those dreams and visions, but you have a friend in us, the friends of democracy, that wishes to restore something in you that you have lost. So join us as you dream again, as you live again, as you hope again, as we believe in you for yourself, until you find your hope, until you find your vision, until you find your calling. I believe that here at Friends of Democracy, you can find a true, authentic and genuine friend in us. So I ask you, you want another 30-0? Because you ain't had no choice the last time. But tonight, you have a choice. You have a choice in the future that you want to have for this country. You might say, we're not there yet, but that's obvious. But we can get there with the help of God. We're going to get there with your help, with the help of those that are here tonight. So I ask you to join us. Stand with us on a mission that's more than a political party, but a movement where we reimagine something different for the Barbados of tomorrow. If you cannot see it, jump on board with us until it manifests. There's a saying, fake it until you make it. But I want to remind you, righteousness exalts a nation. May God bless all of you.
And now we've captured your full attention. I didn't say it before, but I am more than proud to say my name is Wilma Clement. I am your MC this evening, and I endorse that message. I endorse that message. We are lighting candles tonight. Be sure to light yours when you get home. Now, this could be a hard act to follow, but I am sure that the gentleman who's coming next, who is first, a new member, clap for that, and a young man will follow and do quite well. I'm speaking of none other than friend Walton Troutman. Now, Walton has worn a few hats in his career to date. He's currently a freelance asset protection officer. You hear that? And technical sales executive for the brand Imperial Stylings. His industrious nature is what drives his passion to be a creative, dedicated individual who is always focused on the task, not only in developing himself, but also in helping to elevate others. Whether it be doing security duties, designing a bow tie for a client, or doing volunteer work, this former Garrisonian, heard that? That word is going to come back again at us. This former Garrisonian always puts his best efforts forward. And I am sure he's going to do the same today. Let us warmly welcome friend Walton Troutman.
Thank you, thank you. Good night again. After the nice accolades that were shared about me, you know, that's part of my nature and demeanor and structure. My serious focus, I guess, in life, I just say you pass your good few things before you get to the thing you think you're good at. So I believe security is one of the things that I am good at. Like you, I'm not a pastor, but however, I've been to the church. When I go to church, I like to dress. I like to look good. So I wear bow ties. It's not conventional, but I wear bow ties. I got a member in the crowd, De Corsi, where he is, right there. He could attest. He wears one of my bow ties regularly. So when you find the niche that you're good at, you should stick to it. Regardless of the fact that if you think that you're good enough for others, you will get the praise and you will get somebody hate. But when you get the praise, you run with what? The praise. And that's what gives you hope. So I like the run that you put down earlier. So my big take from it was hope. Because all of our problems, all of our solutions is based in hope. When you lose hope, you lose everything. Faith is built on hope. Everything is structured around hope. My short focus is based on one of our key words on the focus of our theme, democracy. Here. My question to you tonight is, what is your point of view on democracy? And how does democracy affect you? Yeah. In my brief research, I've got to find out that there are like a few subtitles we could put over democracy. First, we got conventional democracy, which basically, in layman terms, is we are governed by a constitution. Constitutions fly all over. We know that they're in groups, we know that they're in cultures, and we know that they're in countries. Everybody knows American has a constitution. If you had to ask about constitution, the first person that would talk about America. Every child's hearing and ear is about the American Constitution. But Barbados also has a constitution. True? All right. You know? So we need, even though we know it started from, but we can always build on it. That's what we're good at. We're good at building stuff. And as we build, we get better. The next one is, I lost it there. Be good, yeah. The next one is defensive democracy. A democracy that limits some rights and freedoms in order to protect its existence. Like what Matthew alluded to earlier, the leaders sometimes doesn't always come forward and give you what they're doing before they do it. And then we question it. But sometimes that's what needs to be done. And as a guy in security, I understand this quite well. When we have disasters of all kinds, we know the government imparts upon us sometimes curfews. And it's very serious. We got curfews for multiple reasons. You could got curfews for medical reasons, i.e. COVID. You could got curfews for security purposes, where acts of violence take over and they have to say nobody out at a specific time. Shut down. So there are means by which those types of curfews take and hold well its precedence in defensive democracy. Then lastly, there's deliberative democracy, which is what all Barbadians and most Barbadians know about and favor. Which is what when it happens when decisions are made before us knowing, we get up in arms about it. Because we have always wanted to be and continue to urge and are urged to be part of the discussion. You can agree with that? Whenever we're left out of the discussion, all kinds of things happen that we then are not in agreement with. So I can say that democracy or communication in democracy is the cornerstone of working things out. So at this juncture, I could all safely say, based on those three types of democracy, that Barbados have passed through its many years of development. We could agree with it? We could agree with that? Okay. As we can see, how every part of our daily lives is affected by democracy. Our acts as humans, our interactions with each other, how we go about our daily lives, every interaction with a friend, every interaction with a teacher, every interaction with a stranger, there's some kind of diplomatic relations that we have to go through with in exchange as we go through our daily lives, whether it's at work, whether it's at school, or whether it's at play. Every aspect we need to talk and we need to deliberate to work out our differences, our structures, our goals to where we need to get in life. Whether it's to get the doctor to fix your toe, you're going to talk to the nurse. Whether it's to get the teacher to teach you the lesson, you're going to show interest. That was not a thing in the past, because back then, even if you showed interest or not, the teacher would ring your ears and say, you got to do this. I attended Christchurch Boys, which is now the Milton Lynch Primary. You know, they're changing all the names for everything, but I understand the reason for it. You know, I got so much licks for not knowing my tables. At the end of my tenure at Christchurch Boys, I knew my tables, and I knew them well. You understand? I didn't excel too great at math, but I knew the tables well by the end. Exactly. So everything has its purpose. Every extension of communication has its purpose. You know? But for me, the point that this all leads to, that democracy ends and starts at, is for us and our function. Our function as a social and an economic society. And that's where the wars dwell. We may be subjected by some means, by the jobs we have, the things we do, but at the end of it, like Matthew said, we all have a part to play. Not everyone is going to be a doctor. Not everyone is going to be a lawyer. Not everyone is going to be a pastor. I preached once on the pulpit, you know, so I could probably get back there again, you know. But there's always a place for everyone. For me, that leads directly to accountability. Accountability through democracy. His point again. Where we need to come together, like how we are here now, as a collective, as a group of individuals with woes, with pains, with all sorts of problems. We cannot work out and solve all our problems by ourselves, unfortunately. If we could have, Barbados would have been great. But we need the collective to come together to amplify that communication is the cornerstone of democracy. We need to talk. We need to speak. We need to express. We need to build on each other's thoughts and ideas, because that's where the foundation begins. I can't know what your woes are if you don't express them to me. You can't tell what her woes are unless she expresses them to you. If we hide our individual thoughts and feelings about how Barbados and our general society is developing, it will never get any better. It will never get any better. We will never go any further. We will always be here in the same limbo, saying the same thing, making the same arguments, everybody coming and doing the same thing. I don't know. I follow politics here and there. I'm not super strong in it, but I'm getting there. But based on my research, this was my main focus. Policies and legislations. Policies and legislations. Policies is the mechanism we use when we come together, we communicate. We say this is what we want, and this is how we're going to get it to work. Unfortunately, you could get some persons to do it, but then, by the stretch of the hand, you have to make it law to enforce it. So I understand how the two work hand in hand, and everybody will crawl, but at the end of the day, when somebody takes that political stand, this is all their focus is supposed to be, as far as I understand it. Implementing and executing policies and legislations for the country to move forward on a social and economic level. We could agree? That's what it is in politics. Addressing, bringing forward, and implementing policies and legislations that better each and every individual and Barbados as a collective. As I said, my strong point is insecurity. Now, as opposed to the issue of tint, for me, it serves one purpose and one purpose only. And it has always served one purpose and one purpose only. Okay, cool. That is to protect high value assets. Simple. Government officials, persons of interest, people with enough money, no matter what, get kidnapped or whatever, they have been moved like that in stealth to keep them safe. That was the main protocol for having dark tinted vehicles. If you check it, check the presidents, check the ministers, check high value persons of the interest that own multi-million and billion-dollar companies. That's how they move. Exclusivity. Yes, it's good because it's keep the heat out because you're in Barbados, but in the cold climates, it serves no purpose. So for me, I can understand that. We can validate it, but how does it stop crime? It doesn't. Because the same way it assists in a high value target to keep them safe, the con is that it also keeps the high value robbers and assassins and killers so that they could move in stealth as well to get away. Mafia style. But regardless, then what do you do? There always has to be a loser, unfortunately. In life, everything that we do, every discussion that we have, every debate that we have, there will always be a minority and there will always be a majority. So somebody loses in the battle, but it's for the better and bigger benefit for the collective. And we can all agree on this. So going forward, I want us to be more intuitive, to be more open, to be more willing to bring forward the ideas. Because every idea may be a good idea, but it may not be a functional idea, or at least at that point in time. So I could agree with you, you get the children in the schools. I could state, I know some a little bit about the schooling system because my other half, she was an instructor at Polytechnic. So she just come home and fuss up every day. Say, oh my God, these children. I was like, what happened? It's like they're not interested in anything. All they want is clothes and shoes, and they talk about gadgets. I was like, well, that's what life is for them. But to acquire these things, they don't understand the validity of working hard and getting money until they leave school and they go come into the world of work, and then they get to understand adulting and the sacrifices that we as parents make to elevate the children and to bring them to a point in society where then they can take over and lead. So effectively, what we're here for to do, to create effective leaders of tomorrow. Thank you.
Lots of food for thought. And we did promise you that. Before we move on, we would want to acknowledge Emmanuel Barililla. I think I'm hoping I'm calling the name correct, of Politically Incorrect. Yeah, give him a hand. Great. And I'm sure that you, like me, are thinking about lots of what you've been hearing. I'm forming some questions for when some people perhaps meet you in town or come to your house and start to ask you questions. Because if you have been paying attention, there are some things we need to find out some more about. But there's a gentleman who is going to enlighten us some more. He was born and raised in St. Michael's, South Central. Our friend and next speaker lived overseas for a number of years, where he earned a Bachelor of Business Administration in Marketing. He sojourned on Wall Street for a little while. before transitioning to a 15-year career in advertising. Having achieved all that, our next speaker found his calling, a career in income tax preparation, which up to today is a thriving business. Friends, the person of whom I speak is a philanthropist and true Barbadian. While in New York, our friend volunteered for a charity called Helping Hands of Barbados, which donated school and other supplies to the Salvation Army, many schools, and all children's homes on the island. Of course, the give back to his own St. Michael South Central has been phenomenal. Since 2020, there have been many charitable events, including fun days, a health fair, hamper donations, and what is fast becoming the legendary annual Deck the Mall Christmas event. So who is this person? None other than friend Raymond Wiggins. Please help me welcome our friend, a member of our Executive Management Committee. Raymond. Very welcome.
Good night, St. Philip. Good night, Barbados. Good night to everyone here, friends, our friends of democracy. And it's, sorry, but it's St. Michael Central. You want me to move? I can't do that. As I was driving coming here this evening to St. Philip, it was very windy. And I figured out what that wind was. That was the winds of change. The change that Friends of Democracy plans to bring to Barbados. The change that we plan to bring in all areas and all aspects of Bajans' lives, of Barbadians' lives. In healthcare, education, the crime situation, everything. Some of the things that friend Matthew spoke about. Some of the things that you'll hear some of the other speakers talk about. It's also the change that Barbadians need. The change from a repressive and oppressive government that have brought us recently some draconian laws that only serve to criminalize ordinary Bajans. When it comes to crime, I mean, everybody's going to talk about crime because crime is really at the forefront. The type of crimes that are happening now, the senseless gun crimes, the murders, the carjackings, raping and robbing of the elderly persons. These things are horrible. These are things that should not be happening. These are things that we cannot take any longer. It is time for a change in this country, and the Friends of Democracy plans to bring that change. With this administration looking at crime, they decided they were going to say, let's bring a taint law so that all ordinary Barbadians have to remove the taint that persons in a car that may be carrying a gun can be seen. They decided to sidestep and be blindfolded to and be blinded to the other areas of the crime and the gun crime. They didn't open their eyes to the importation of guns at the porous borders. They didn't open their eyes to the containers. They can't remove the taint from them. But they scan these containers at the port. Somehow, the guns still get through. They'll find a little 44 gun or whatever somebody had in a barrel. They'll find it. But those are not even the guns that are committing the crimes on the streets of Barbados. They're military-style weapons that are committing these crimes. They don't focus on the importers. They don't focus on the wholesalers who purchase these guns from the importers. They don't focus on the retailers who purchase these guns from the wholesalers. They don't purchase on these guys who purchase these guns and put them in the hands of some of these youngsters who have little or no education, little or no purpose in life, and will go and commit any crime. But before they tell us about removing the taint, they need to remove the blinders that they have on and see where these guns are coming from and see what is happening before they talk about the guns on the street putting police in danger. It is a system that has created this and have allowed these things to fester and come into our communities and are now wreaking havoc on everyone. If they remove their blinders, they will see the truth. They will see the culture that they have created. They will see the hurt and pain that they have inflicted on ordinary Bajans. They will also see that they have normalized a culture of criminals and criminal behavior and have emboldened certain people in the society to think that certain things are acceptable. They're in bed with the criminals, basically, so to speak. But let me tell you, friends of democracy plan to be a group, a political group, a party in waiting that will look out for all Barbadians. All these crimes on the street have to stop. And we also have policies in place to arrest, no pun intended, some of the crime on the street, by starting with some of the youngsters. Friend Matthew would have spoken of some of it. The next law that they came up with that is definitely a draconian law that carries a big fine for nothing is again a solution that is in search of a problem. They looked at a law that was on the book since 1961 and might have been tweaked at some point by the DLP to raise the fees from $120 to $500. They picked up this law as part of the police reform, and the only thing they did was change the name of the police service from the Royal Barbados Police Force to the Barbados Police Service and turn around and made the fines go from $500 to $10,000 if you don't assist an officer who is being attacked or who needs help. So they want to look at it from this angle. They wait till they put police in danger and then expect me and you to go and help the police. They put the police in danger with all these policies that they have in place. And now the thing about it, if you don't assist, you can get a $10,000 fine, or I think it's a year in jail. And that perpetrator who was perpetrating the crime upon police officer can put you up on bail and you're going to be in jail for a year and he up on the street, all because you don't help, but he was the criminal. They're trying to criminalize ordinary Bajans. That is what they're doing with their policies. And we are not going to stand for it any longer. Friends of democracy have policies in place that will prevent these types of things. Friend Ricardo will speak on crime, so I don't really want to get too deep into his area. He has called for capital punishment. One of the first people that spoke out about that and called for it, and then it was echoed by others, acting like it was all of a sudden a great idea they came up with. And that is one of the things that we pretty much want to advocate, capital punishment. They say hanging is criminal, is cruel and unusual. But so are the crimes that these people are perpetrating upon our citizens. They're cruel and unusual. Raping in 92, 93, whatever age this lady was, the old man, the elderly person that they robbed out by the credit union. These things are not cruel and unusual. Then tell me what is. Yes, all of these things is what I'm talking about. These things can't be normal, can't be normalized. And they're not even talking about them. They're not even coming up with solutions. They want to criminalize us by removing tint and all the other things. They're just finding things to distract. All are distractions. But with the capital punishment, I don't know if we can use the lethal injection, something that they figure is more humane. It costs $32,000 to keep a prisoner in jail in Barbados, upwards of $32,000. So you get a 10-year life sentence, $320,000. Give 20 years, that's $640,000. You know what we could do with that money? I'm sure that can buy quite a few lethal injections. But we don't need to buy so many, you know. We only need to buy about 10. And we're going to got 8 left back for the next 20 years. Because when you start killing them, they're going to think differently. I'm going to throw 3 names at you and tell you what happened to these people. Somebody you may not have heard of. There was a guy named Gary Ridgway in the U.S. who was dubbed the Green River Killer. He was convicted of killing 48 persons, strangling 48 women by hand. Vicious crimes. He said he admitted to between 70 to 90 killings that he did. So he was a criminal-minded. We had Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who was the mastermind of the World Trade Center bombings that killed over 2,600 persons. And there was David Berkowitz, who they call the son of Sam, who wreaked terror in New York. I was a youngster growing up in Brooklyn at the time when this David Berkowitz was on the loose. You would wake up every morning, hear another person shot. They also call him the 44 killer, because he would use a 44 gun to kill these people. I think he killed about 15 people, I'm not too sure. But you know what all of these people did when they were caught? They all pleaded guilty to avoid the death penalty. Even this Green River killer that strangled by hand over 90 people did not want to die. He was afraid to die after watching all these people die at his hands. These youngsters that perpetrated these crimes are cowards. And if these guys could be serial killers and didn't want to die, these little youngsters didn't want to die either. So when you bring back this death penalty and hit them with the lethal injection or whatever form that you got to do, they will change their ways. We had our MC last week was Adrian Lovell, who they said was the hangman. Well, he told us when the guys on death row would hear the footsteps coming down the hall, they would start to tremble with fear, wondering who they were coming for next. So these people will see a different light, will think differently when they know that lethal injection or capital punishment is on the cards. They will think twice. Or that, whatever form we choose to use. Friends of Democracy brings a fresh perspective to Barbados and to Barbadians. We're going to bring transparency and accountability in government, something that right now we do not have. This government say we care. I see it on a t-shirt. And they probably truly care. They just didn't tell you who they care about. They care about themselves. They care about their friends, their cronies, the ones that get the big government contracts and all types of things. They do not care about us, the ordinary Barbadian. They don't care about us. They never did. They get 30 love twice and that emboldened them, and they will never care. They will do what they want to do. As for Walton just mentioned 3 forms of democracy, and he did mention one about, I think it was the third one you mentioned, about people being involved. They don't tell us what's going on. They just do whatever they feel. We became a republic. All of that. Whether it was good or bad, I'm not saying if it was good or bad, but all Bajans should have had a hand in that. They should have had a voice in that. That should have been whatever you call a referendum, whatever you call it on the vote to say yes or no. It should be the will of the people, not just one person making the decisions. But if Friends of Democracy plans to be a different type of government, we plan to bring again accountability and transparency to all Barbadians. Whatever is being done, they're going to know. They borrow a lot of money from all over. They just borrow some more money from who? The Saudis. I know when I take people money, what has happened? You can't do what they want. But they're doing a lot of things with some of the money. They're not doing the right things. They're not taking care of the ordinary Barbadians, the ordinary Bajan people. They're taxing us into oblivion. They're putting us further and further. We have no chance if you're in the working class to ever climb out and get to the so-called middle class. It will never happen. They're dropping us further and further down the ladder. If I'm not mistaken, growing up, I think there was a slogan I saw with Barra that said, if I'm wrong, please correct me, that said, how long is too long if it is good? Well, I ask you tonight, how long is too long if it is bad? Are you better off now than you were 7, 8 years ago? If you are, well, happy for you. God bless you. But the majority of Bajans are not. We are in a bad place. The crime is out of control. They just came up with an education reform policy. All of a sudden, because they're about to call election, they just come up with something quick and try to cram it down your throats. There's some good parts about it, but some of it leaves a lot to be desired. They neglected to include, as Matthew did say, some of the principal players, some of the unions, some of the teachers weren't even consulted. How you want to reform schools and you're asking the teachers exactly what is going on in the schools? Exactly what is going on with some of the children in the schools. There's this, where's that show they have, Undercover Boss? And if you've ever watched that show, you know that the boss up on the top never know what is going down at the bottom. That they come into the store sometimes and they have to, and they're amazed like, wow, this is what really happens down here? Well, I got to really give you a raise. I really got to clean up this company. These guys don't know what's going on in the schools and sitting down making decisions for us and our children. Things that the teachers don't even want and the unions don't even want. They're not even addressing the teacher concerns like teacher fatigue and all these things. If a teacher burnout, they can't teach. A teacher is unhappy. That teacher that will go the extra mile to take little Johnny to the side and give him little lessons or do something for him when he's falling behind. That morale is gone. And low morale in the workplace is a bad thing. Anybody who ever worked in a company and know the morale is low, all types of things happen. All types of things happen. So the teachers, we even call up the Teacher Service Commission that they spoke about. They didn't even include that as part of the reform. So a lot of things that people needed were not included. Friend Matthew pointed out some of the things that Friends of Democracy plan to do, some of our policies on the education. And we've said it before, and here I'll say it again, that we think it begins with the primary school children. There's some of these children who have learning disabilities, whether there's dyslexia or the attention deficit disorders, or sometimes some other forms of mental health. You think some of these youngsters that committing suicide, some of these youngsters that come to school don't have issues at home, but nobody don't care about that. They just care about reading, writing, and arithmetic, and if you can't do it, you fall behind. They sweep along, send you up another grade, well, not grade, they're talking about changing it to grades, send you up another class, another form, and you come out of school, still can't even read past a class 2 level. We're talking about finding these youngsters early, identifying them, rigorous testing, and getting them the help that they need. Not just saying, oh yeah, this youngster have dyslexia, he can't read, so you don't call upon him to read in front of the class because you know he's going to fumble and he's going to be embarrassed. But just keep him to the side, and next year he's going to class 3 and the same thing. And then Miss Weeks going to send him up to class 4, the same thing. He can still come out of school and can't read. We have to arrest this very early and get these children the help they need. Get more mental health professionals, more psychologists and psychiatrists in the Ministry of Education, into some of the schools, to get some of these youngsters the help they need to stop them from falling through the cracks and falling into a life of crime. That is where it all begins. These guys get older, come out of school, and straight across the block, a life of crime. A lot of them can't read, they can't write. But you know, some of them might be good with the hands. Some of them some of them might not on the block, some might end up around the uncle or cousin or somebody doing automotive work or something, and might learn a little something. We don't have to wait for them to come out of school and try to learn a little something, or try to enroll in Samuel Jackman Prescott or one of these other places, and then they can't get in. You expect they were in school for the last 3 years not learning anything, disillusioned with the system, and they wanted to come out and apply someplace else. Tell me how that's going to work. So we got to take them while they're still in school. And we spoke about this. That's part of our policy on the education and battling crime through education. Take some of these youngsters, well, perhaps in 3rd form, when you realize that they're not strong with math, not strong with English and these things. We're still going to teach them those things on their own level, but we're also going to put them into a more technical career. That's why we were calling for the reconstruction of the Alma Parish School into something we will call a technical career institute, that these children will be channeled there. Well, it's part of their schooling. We able to come out of school and ask them to go and apply. That is their class 4 and perhaps class 5 initiative. Like when some people doing an internship, they go down there and they learn whatever it is that their hearts come to, whatever it is their minds come to, whatever they're good at. We channel them into something. We take them from early childhood education, from early primary school education, weed out the ones that need help, get them the help that they need, move them forward with a plan, and get some of them into a technical career institute that they come out a better person than they went in. We don't look down on them and stigmatize them. We help them. We don't push them aside and use those words that people used to use, like they're foolish and they're crazy and all of that. No! They're retarded. All of those words are no longer used. We find out what is wrong with these children and we get them the help that they need. That is what Friends of Democracy is advocating when it comes to fighting crime through education. So what I want you to do is look out for Friends of Democracy. Listen out for Friends of Democracy's policies. Right now in St. Michael Central, I've been talking to a lot of the youngsters, and they feel betrayed by the system. It's a system they figured did not help them. A lot of the youngsters on the block, they didn't want to end up there. And all of the ones on the block are not lost. I've spoken to some of them who are willing to come to a program that they would like to start where they can tutor and mentor and give lessons to some of the children. They weren't bad in everything at school. There's one subject that they were pretty good at, that they don't mind trying to help someone and stops another youngster from ending up in the situation that they ended up in because of a system. They don't like or trust the system. But when individuals like us come out and talk to them and tell them our plans, and they see that we're a different breed and we're coming with something different, they are willing to listen. They are willing to turn their lives around. I used to hang out on the block in New York. We used to hang out on Troop Avenue between Hancock and Jefferson. And the people that live out there used to say, oh, them youngsters out there, they're up to no good. But I can tell you, none of them went to jail. The majority of them went off to the military. I went off to college. The most of them went off to the military. And today they're fine upstanding citizens, fine upstanding Bajan citizens living overseas. You're not always lost. There's a period of time that you need to find yourself. You need to figure out what is going on. But unless somebody put in your head that you are important, you are somebody, there's some place you can go, there's something you can do, you will think that you're lost. You will start to believe it. You will think there's no hope for you. But I'm here to tell you tonight that Friends of Democracy is bringing hope. Bringing hope to all Barbadians. We have agendas and policies that will impact Bajans because we care about everyone. Not just the elite, not just the top 5 or 2% or whatever. We care about everyone. We have a lot of policies, and I want you to stay attuned and listen. Barbados, you're in for a treat. You're in for a difference. Not same old business as usual with the B's and the D's and all of that. We're coming to bring a new perspective, new ideas, new policies to Barbados for the good and the betterment of all Barbadians. Because we know hopelessness and lack of job opportunities is what create the lost individuals, and they turn to crime. We have to have mentors within the constituencies, within the neighborhoods that can reach out to these people, reach out to these youngsters. The ones that's already out of school, that's what they're going to need. The ones that are still in school, the policies that I have outlined will help them and get them off from falling into that line. But the ones that are already out, again, mentorship, giving us some place to go. We need to open some of these community centers, not only for the youngsters, but some of the elderly. There's some elderly people who have nothing to do, nowhere to go. Start some of these knitting and some of these other classes, and some of these elderly people can also teach some of these youngsters things like that they can do. We cannot forget our elderly, and we also have policies in place to protect our elderly persons. We have policies in place because without them, they are leaving the world a better place than they have found it for us. And we have to do that also for the youngsters coming after us. We have to leave this world a better place. But the place that we are going and the policies that's in place and the laws they're putting in place, Lord help us if we're able to do that. They're putting us in a worse place than we were. And we can't allow that. We can't have that. If Friends of Democracy is not involved in the next general election, it will be another 30 love because there's nothing to look forward to on the other side of the aisle. Nothing at all. That is why Friends of Democracy will continue to push, continue to work, continue canvassing in the neighborhoods, continue to show that we are here to defend the people of Barbados. Continue to show that when this Friends of Democracy gets into Parliament, things will change. You will see things you have never seen happening across the length and breadth of Barbados. because we are coming with a mission, a clear and concise mission of caring, 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 giving hope to people who had no hope, giving a voice to those who believed they had no voice. We will resurrect that voice and let them know, come on, Friend of Democracy is here to stay, here to help you, and we care about you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, if you had any doubts, you know now for sure that this young man has plans and he's going somewhere. Better believe it. You know, he spoke about the time that he spent in New York, but let me tell you something. No matter where they are, Barbadians are very smart. We are learned. We know how, what, when, and where. We know how to survive. So there were these three men, Caribbean men, who were imprisoned overseas and waiting on death row to go talk to their maker. And when it was time, one was asked, what do you want for your final meal? He wants ackee and saltfish. He got his ackee and saltfish, and he went on his way. The other one wanted curry goat. He got his curry goat. When they came to the Beijing, that's what do you want for your last meal? Smart man. He said, I want ackees. They said, ackees? This is not the season for ackees. He said, well, I go wait. Beijings are smart. And all the friends this evening have proven everything that I am saying. And at Friends of Democracy, when we put it all together, no one can outsmart us. We will get the job done. Now, I know you've been waiting to hear from our second vice president of the Friends of Democracy, friend Ricardo, and Dwele, Ricky, Laker, Williams. Friend Ricky is an activist, and he's also known as an evangelist, one who proudly proclaims his love for Christ. A product of Boys Foundation School, friend Ricardo has excelled and represented his school in all sporting disciplines. He has played professional football for KSI Phoenix and for Trinidad and Tobago. And Barbados, of course. On the local music scene, where he directed the Wendy Allen Band for 11 years, friend Ricky has been a champion. Not only is he an exponent for spooge and other forms of local music, including gospel, but did you know that he has traveled extensively throughout North and South America and Africa, honing his craft? Our friend owns the recording studio Trident 66, which is at work every day with local and regional artists. Friend Ricky has been a political activist who functioned as manager of the Deacons Development Complex. Throughout the years, he has represented, empowered, and created paths of success for the people of his community. Friend Ricky's leadership skills have been evident in his appointment on the board of directors of the Urban Development Commission, Kensington Oval Management, Inc., Kensington Development Corporation. Need I say more? So please put your hands together. Help me welcome our friend, Ricardo Williams, candidate for St. Michael Northwest.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I wonder if I could get my hands free, 'cause I feel like boxing tonight. Yeah, I think it could work. Let me first say that I sat there, and I don't like to use the word proud. I really don't like to use the word proud, so if you could substitute a word for me, but the content that I heard coming from Friends of Democracy is the first time in long time in politics in Barbados that I've heard such. It was more than inspiring. I can't believe, I say this, I shouldn't say it, I can't believe what I heard. I have seen the transformation right in front of my eyes. These are people that really are genuine about what they are about. Tonight, my task is pretty easy because everybody knows what's happening in Barbados. We are living in an island that is, you struggle for adjectives to describe the way people live. People are under severe pressure. Poor people are struggling. I remember Brother Steve said to somebody one day, we were talking about politics, and he said that politicians get into politics and should get into politics to make poor people's lives better. That is not the case here. It has not been the case for a long while. I could actually say since 1987, when Arbar died. There was a wave of politicians that came just after the Democrat Labour Party then that took, Tom Adams started it by increasing everything. A lot of you don't know that Arbar used to live in the Alara Court was done by Tom Adams. Arbar created Culloden Farm in the Bay Land to live among the people. That says a lot about the man that was called Arbar, who chose to live among the people that elected him. Tom Adams said that was not good enough for him. He ain't living in no ghetto, and took the taxpayers' money and created the old house and make it into a mansion, and it's still up there called the Lara Court. Ended up, bear with me for a little while, carry up on the journey. Ended up increasing the salaries of politicians, and said politicians can't live on that salary. They was living pretty good, but he said politicians can't live on that salary. And that permeated through politics until this day, where people get into politics now for money and for the love of money. And we've seen a lot of people that we met Al Capone and Frank Nettie looked like school children. In politics in Barbados, it was going on. It hurts my heart to see what it is, because it was in politics they earned for a long time. And I've seen the sacrifices made by caring Barbadians who left professions and came and represented people. And I use the word representative with a meaning, because we come to represent people. If you don't come to represent people, forget it. We ain't come to get elected, become an MP, and to live off of people. We come to represent people, especially people that won't represent it, poor people. We have seen what this government has done to poor people. And they did it even before they got into power. They stifled the Democratic Labour Party. There's nothing that was going on in Barbados between 2008 and 2018, very little, through the vindictive ways and means of the Barbados Labour Party leadership in opposition. And I could draw one simple example, the stories that was in the street. It was on the street pouring for months, and they couldn't get it moved. I call it a sabotage. I left it for your imagination. As soon as they went power, it went off the street. Construction started to boom. Everything in Barbados started to lift. The sabotage that was inevitable for the Democratic Labour Party. They came into power by giving me the vote on Watchman. and we watch, and we see what's going on. And tonight, I got a heavy heart. I don't know, I pray to God for protection every day. I don't know when they're going to blow up. Because when I see the injustices that out there meted out to people like me, it burns my spirit morning, noon, and night. The last one is the $5 million roundabout. These people take out all money and spend it like if it's confetti money. Or I wonder sometimes if it's Guyanese money they're talking about. Monopoly, $5 million for a roundabout. $5 million in any money, even Guyanese money, is a lot of money. And you didn't even hide it. You bring a big press conference. I was bold about it because we look like the biggest fools in the world. I could tell these idiots anything. I want $5 million for a roundabout. To build a roundabout for $5 million, you're going to go to Washington, D.C. and stretch it to New York. And still it can't cost $5 million. Because it's only a roundabout. It's only a roundabout. They built a roundabout by Waterford. Everybody here know it. Unique one. The person that built that roundabout, that was in charge of building the roundabout, is my friend. A neighbor and my friend. And when he heard about the $5 million, he called me and said, Ray, that roundabout that they built down there cost $15,000. It's a roundabout. It might be smaller, but it's a roundabout. Multiply that by 100 and still you can't get to $5 million. How long is too long? I repeat that same statement that Albar said. There's a roundabout. People in Barbados suffering. As we speak, I know people ain't had a meal today. And everybody in here, at some point today or yesterday or day before, somebody come and tell me, you got $20 you can lend my man? This is 2025. With the cutting cane at 1603, with a whip in me back. This is 2025, and we still suffering and hungry. We still ain't own nothing. 60 million hotels going all along the west coast in Barbados, and not one owned by a Barbadian black. Not one. And we sitting down quiet. Mind your people business, and then mind your own business. Not one hotel down there owned by we. So we can pass out this world. I hear Matthew saying he got 3 coming, and he might end up with 7 like me. And enough of grandchildren. What we can left for them, Matthew? We can brace them to go and work for these same people. As slaves, we go up and stop there. And that's where Friends of Democracy come in. Because here it name, Friends of Democracy. What is in the name? A name is a very serious thing. You check and see that when you go to name your child, you spend 19,000 names before you arrive at one. Because you want the right name for this child. Friends of Democracy ain't just happened. It was inspired by God. Because nobody in politics in Barbados would ever come up with the name Friends of Democracy. Up to today, they're still asking, that ain't sounding a political name. We're in a political party. We're representatives of the people of Barbados. Because the ones that are political parties destroying the people in Barbados. So we can't follow them. Because I always say, and I continue to say, Karina is going to be running out here. Let me stop here 1 minute. Next Prime Minister of Barbados. And I asked him for my job early. I want to be minister. In fact, I want to be the minister of sport in the next government. Because I know about sport. Charles Griffith can't even walk. We take all Texas. I think, some speakers said we take all Texas, Matthew, round pegs and put in square holes and expect the place to run properly. I can deal with sports in a minute. We cannot expect that we could continue walking the same way and get the same result. there's a definition for that. Called madness. But getting back to name, a name is very, very important. If you misname it, you can pay for it. Don't name your child Damien. Don't name your child Damien. Whoever tell you name it, or name it. There is something in your name. You see, when you call that name Jesus, things has happened. I went to South Africa in 2005 on a missionary journey. 5 of us from my church. And while in South Africa, they're from Barbados, and South Africans don't know anything about Barbados. So few of them know about Barbados. So we talking and things, and the names come up. You name Ricky. You name Leslie. You name Joel. I know, but your real name is. We say that's your real name. South Africans, nah, that can't be a real name. Because last time we checked, you was one of we. The tech with the friend here coming across there. So that can't be your name. So we make a long story short, we got the name that the Slow Masters give us. But so can with another story another day. Because after name Ricky Williams and Carl Williams, some of that fortune got go beyond me. But I can talk about that later. I want a reparations from England, they want right in, but there it is. I can talk about that later though. South African guys in the church anointed us and gave us names. Each 5 of us. And they named me Andrele. You know what Andrele means? God brought me. And I realized God brought me because the life that I went through, and God didn't bring me. I'd be dead 18 times. Lost me in jail or mental or one of them places for the stance that I took in life. So what is in the name? Friends, democracy, it is a special title that was given by God. And we defended it without even realizing what we were defending. You know why I said the special title? We ended up here because of democracy. We were in a party called the Democratic Labour Party. What is in the name? The Democratic Labour Party. When Earl Barra broke away from the Barbados Labour Party, they formed the Democratic Labour Party. It was a reason why it was democratic. By the people, for the people, because what was going on in the Barbados Labour Party at the time was by the people, for the white people. It wasn't white democracy. So the Democratic Labour Party, the Barbados Labour Party called the People's Progressive League. It didn't have the Democratic name. And Barra in his wisdom called this the Democratic Labour Party. The Democratic Labour Party was taken over by a coup. The Democratic Labour Party, remember what he's saying, you know, the Democratic Labour Party was taken over by a coup. Instigated by members of the Democratic Labour Party that were in there for over 25 and 30 years. Trying to get rid of a young man who they say were not his friend. Like if we come out here to be friends with anybody, we come out here to do the people's work. For the people. That's what we come out here for. So they broke it up, mashed it up. On the 25th of August last year, they had people in here struggling outside the door. Some old women urinated themselves, and that rat walked through the gate with a bag on his shoulder, locked the gate and said, shut them out. A man that walked from the other side of the aisle a couple months ago that was cursing and carrying on about this said party that want to bring to destroy. So at the end of the day, they destroyed the Democratic Labour Party 25th of August 2024. It is no longer the Democratic Labour Party. God named us the Democratic Party. Freedom, friends of democracy. Because we're friends. We ain't gonna coup. We're friends, and we're friends of democracy. We will hold democracy to. That's how we get here. Democracy. So we're going to go and tell the people now? What that other side going to go and tell the people? So they went to St. James North, and they didn't tell the people anything. The people told them something. Get out. This is the party. Mayor Motley has led Barbados down a slippery slope. There's no way for me to go now. There's no way to go. Take money from everybody, like in the ram shop, bring ram, somebody can pay. Take money from everybody. I don't mind you borrowing money because you got to borrow money. But we can't see where the money going for us. We can't see it. If you drive up and down Barbados, you see construction going on left, right, and center. All over the place, and not one a brother ain't own. Brothers' businesses closing every day. And we come here in 1603, we the boy that developed this and cut the canes and developed Barbados and build all the buildings in it. Everything we build. And now it is time for we to break the streets. We still down there cutting canes. And that's my message throughout the whole length of Barbados. No wonder the young people go mad. No one. Sometimes you come up with the philosophy, and it could be right too, that you got to hang some of these nuisances, because some of them is nuisances. But sometimes if you got to hang some of the people that creating the trouble too, you know. You can't let these people get there, because the 5 million fiasco is a big crime. It's a big crime waiting. The whole project is another bigger crime. It was so big a crime that the Prime Minister said she will investigate. She can investigate she. I don't know who believes that she can investigate. How is she going to investigate her? What sense that making? People, I want you to wake up, you know. This is what's happening in this town. Or talking to madmen. I wonder. We have to understand that this is what is going on. Are we too dormant? Next couple of meetings, we should have hundreds of people joining and joining. I want all these young men, I want these militant men coming out. Because this will feeling the pain. I was telling Steve yesterday, and the departure launch, you know. The plane got some mechanical trouble and they might not get chance to get repaired. But I said, these young people, these got to change this thing. Them is the people. So we got to stay with them and build them up. Because this is the country that belongs to them. The foreparents, blood, sweat, and tears in it. They ain't got nothing left for you. All black businesses in Barbados that I grew up knowing fall through the cracks. I could call them, you know, Julian, Bajbai, Sean Rock. We was the leading supermarket chain in Barbados in the 80s, getting to the 90s. We, the black people, rose with our barrel, and we was running the food chain. Got it in there, take a back seat. We was running the food chain. The people changed the government, and we get all of these black businesses get shut down. In Barbados, Supercenter rise like a phoenix. Massey rise like a phoenix. And why Shamrock and Shamrock family and we, all we fall down at the hands of these people. I can get the shooter, because if you pass where they call Rihanna Drive, which is Westbury Road, in the middle of that street, on the left, going towards the cemetery, was a very famous residence in Barbados, the Tudor's residence. The first black businessman in Barbados at Robert Street was J.C. Tudor. That's an honor, because Barbados was controlled by all the white people. And Tudor came through it as the first black, J.C. Cameron Tudor's father, the first black businessman. The first black one. When you pass Westbury Road now, you don't know that that was the Tudor's residence. It is between that residence and the Lansing there that the Democratic Labour Party was formed. That Lansing got the road going through it. And now they got, when you look up there by Tudor, you find containers and all types of rubbish up in that place. There is no sense of history for us to understand that that was the residence of the very first black businessman in Barbados. I tell you, that, and if you don't got the history, you're going to be lost. My children will have to know because I will tell them. But a lot of people don't know. So there's no hope. If you don't have nothing to aspire to, there's no hope. And they'll let that happen. Both the DLP and the BLP let it happen. But Motley could take up bones and a flag and carry to Africa. Bones and a flag worth more than that man and his family. And they can procure that residence up there and make it a museum or just do something with it that people can understand that there's hope for you and there's something in that road because Rihanna was born in that road. So there must be some anointing in that road. Rihanna was born there. These things don't just happen. And we can't let it go along like that. And we got Indigo and Pendry and all these places coming up in Barbados. And for we to get part of it, we got to go in them and work like slaves. And we got to stop it. Friends of democracy can stop it. We can level the playing field. We ain't prejudice, you know, everybody got to live. We are not prejudiced. We like white people too as much as they like me. We like them too. You like me, I like you. We love the Indians. The Indians made a significant contribution in Barbados. I know the Indians up to now they still got Casino and Deacons, driving little car we want, and whatever you want, he bought for you. And when you can pay, he make the noise. I ain't got no problem with that type of Indian. There's another set though. There's another set that nothing to do with Barbados. Absolutely nothing. Because of some unscrupulous, wicked politicians, they let them do as they like in Barbados. They got all the control, the ZR culture. So if you want to permit, you got to go to an Indian. An Indian ain't cutting the cane. Don't forget this. I can keep bringing it down when I hey, an Indian ain't cutting the cane. You got to go to one of them for a permit. And you got to get $350 in the evening, and you still have to put in diesel. So when the youngsters out there making a hustle to get a food to eat, cause me hungry. Some of them got 2 and 3 children. They got to get that $350 first. So that's why you got all this mayhem on the road. It got to be like that because these people, everybody got to live. You got to take these permits from these people and put them in the right people's hands. You got to take, when you're in power, you can do what you want to do. I call back in these permits. The property of the state, they belong to the state. Now let me interview people for permits now. You want the permit? I ain't stopping the Indian from getting the permit, you know. Only one for you, though. Only one for you. And that's the state that we got in Barbados because the Indians find a way to rally the troops and take the money and pool the resources together. And buying up every piece of property in Barbados. They ain't cut the keys. But every time the brothers come up, because we never had no money. I tell you that J.C. Tudor was the first black, and you see what they do with he. And it happened to he with the black government. Because we had black governments in Barbados since the 50s. Till now, there's not one white man in government, the closest to the mulatto Dugate. No one. Black people running this country, black commissioner of police, black president, the judiciary black. And we still getting tricked so? We still getting tricked so? We got to get a recalibration. Friends in democracy will change it. Barbados has to have a change. It cannot work the way it's working. We got to have a change. What is happening now is destroying us and our culture. It cannot work. I sacrificed my life for it because I got all springs. It ain't about me now. It ain't about me now. I'm afraid of death. You see what I tell you what andwelling means? God got me. When God for you, no man can't be against you. We got to stop being afraid. We got to come out and tell these people enough is enough. What think, what move you only think? Foolishness. Distractions, that's why I ain't getting involved in things. The police and wiretapping. We can't stop wiretapping. We ain't got what it takes to stop wiretapping. All we got to do is be very, very careful what we say on the telephones. Watch what you say on the people's telephone. But we can't stop it. When Oinafa, as Prime Minister Barbados, said that Nehemiah had daughter top tapping his phone. He said it, not me. And he's the Prime Minister. So if he can get stopped, how the hell could Andrea get stopped? So I ain't getting involved in that wiretapping talk or the think talk and making a sport with them things. Them is distractions that they want me to get away. Everybody in Barbados arguing now about things and all that. And we forgetting the big picture, you know. The big picture is what I told about just now. These people controlling Barbados. And we arguing about the small issues. We arguing about the small issues. We got to forget the small issues and deal with the big issues. What you doing with our money? We want some accountability for this money. And we don't want the public account committee. It don't work in Parliament. It don't work. We want that when friends democracy get into power, we are going to take you to court and lock you up for the people's money. It's about time a politician get locked up for the people's money. The only way it can stop is if you lock up a politician or two for the people's money. They're stealing the people's money left, right, and center. We know, Lord have mercy, when you can tell me at the end of the way a roundabout could cost $5 million. Don't care if you do. You go up in the roundabout for St. Francis and Lucy. It can't cost $5 million. So somebody thieving me money. I say in plain, it got to stop. It got to stop. And we got to stop it. We got to stand up. Don't be afraid. God got we. We can't go under more pressure than we are under right now. Everybody here, anybody here got children going to school or grandchildren going to school. Yesterday, my son tell me his son's school shoes. He's 8 years old, going to St. Sweden school. $300 for one pair of shoes. I said, but Barry, you know you could buy 2 pairs for that. He said, Daddy, if I buy anything cheaper, it costs me more for the school term. It's 4 pairs. So this is what we evolving. This is the scam that going on. So those children are 8 years old. The parents put out near $3,000 to get them in primary school. Good night and God bless you.
That really ain't good enough. That's not good enough. That song's better. Thank you very much. And thank you, Andrea. Now, the moment that we've all been waiting for, our president is coming. But before she comes, I want to talk about a woman of God. She proudly declares that she is a woman of God. And we heard our brother Andrea, once you have faith, once you are a believer, you know God's got you. So there was this old woman who would leave her house and go outside every morning and praise God. Lord, I thank you for life. I thank you for waking me this morning. Lord, you provide all my needs. I love you. And as soon as she went back in her house, this man, her neighbor, would come out. I said, there's no God. There is no God. And he told them would have it like that, back and forth, every single morning, every day. So one day she came out, and she said, Lord, I believe in you. I know you have my back, but Lord, I don't have anything to eat today. But I know that before the day is out, Lord, you will provide for me. You have always provided for me. And he never heard. He said, God, she know. He went and he bought 2 bags of groceries and he put them in her veranda. When she came out and she saw the veranda and the groceries, she knelt down in the road and she prayed and she said, Lord, I thank you. I know I did not have to worry. You provide for me. You will always provide for me. Thank you, Jesus. Hallelujah. I love you. The neighbor can't take it no more. He come and say, I the God. There is no God. I bought those groceries. And she picked up her bags, and then she put them down, and she looked at him, and she fell on her knees again. And she said, Lord, I thank you for providing for me. I told you this morning I didn't have anything to eat. But Lord, thank you for these groceries and for making the devil bring them. Where there is a woman of God, there is nothing that will go against her. Nothing. So we're going to talk about our president, Karina Goodridge, the candidate for St. Philip West, a woman of faith, highly goal-oriented with a spirit of determination. Friend Karina Goodridge has captured the hearts and confidence of the members of democracy to the extent that they overwhelmingly voted her for their president. No way. That we overwhelmingly voted her for our president. Armed with a background in banking and insurance, President Karina, the registered business owner of Eastwing Legal, is an attorney at law with over 5 years of practice in civil law, litigation, contract, estates, and personal injury, to name a few. Determined to represent the people, President Karina contested the January 2022 elections in St. Philip West and made strong connections and new relationships as a first-timer in the political arena. Her representation has encompassed articles in the Nation newspaper, interventions on brass tacks, and now leadership of Friends of Democracy. This former Garrisonian, remember I told you to hear that word again, this former Garrisonian has always exemplified leadership and reminds people that it does not matter where you start, but it matters where you finish. Whether it was in Gladiator's Tent, NIFCA, the Richard Stout Teen Talent Contest in 2006, or Honey Jam Barbados Showcase 2013, President Karina has shared her talents and her love for music. Whatever she does, our president puts her best foot forward. The one thing that President Karina has made clear is that she entered politics to make a difference and to give back to her nation, and that we can see she will do. Let us welcome and hear from our president, Karina Goodridge.
Good night to everyone. I've been sitting, I've been waiting, I've been listening, and I am hearing good things from the Friends of Democracy. My God, who would have believed that we were a party, just established the other day? And we have strong voices in here. We heard from we have heard from Matthew Thorne, who's the third vice president. I have that right? Yes, Matthew, of course. You have to give a round of applause for him. You heard from Andrele. My God, he told you what his name is all about, and that was power. You heard from every other sports person here tonight, and what you got is quality. What you got is a caring heart coming forth right here in Barbados. We don't come here for hot air and sweet talk, right? So I want the people of Barbados to know, and the people of St. Philip West to know, that when I come, I don't come with hot air and sweet talk, because you've had enough of that. That's the snack that you've been having for so long and you've had enough of it. We are the people of Barbados and we have the power. And I hope that tonight is sitting in front of me that I find at least 2 categories of people that mean a lot to my heart tonight. And those are the party loyalists and also the non-voters. Those are the ones that particularly I want to reach their hearts. Because let me tell you, I'm recognizing that the persons who have the power don't recognize the power that they carry. And then when you make the wrong decision, when you choose the wrong people to represent you, you recognize, what did I do with the power that I have, or how I did not use the power that I had. You know what party loyalists are telling this country? Party loyalists are pretty much telling this country that the vote of the elected persons is guaranteed no matter what. No matter the failures, no matter the corruption, no matter if they hurt you, no matter if they don't make policies that are suitable for you to propel this country forward, you are going to support them. Then you have the non-voters, the people that are pretty much fed up with everything. They think about the system first. They think, I'm tired of the system because we have 2 parties here and no other party exists. So it's either B or it's either D. So if it's not B or D, I'm not being open-minded to anything, or I don't care because they have disappointed me already. But this is where the problem lies when you are a non-voter. The minister in Parliament is still going to make a decision concerning your salary, concerning your education, concerning your health care, and concerning every other right that you're entitled to, even if you do not vote. Now, part of my assignment as a representative of this nation, not just that I want to be a representative of St. Philip West, but a representative as a citizen of this country, is to remind Barbados consistently that you need a substantive opposition in this country. You need someone who's there, right there with you, who's listening to your voice, who wants to hear the problems that you are faced with in the community that you are living in. Guess what? We are here in St. Philip West right now. And you know this government is still struggling with dealing with the crime issue in Barbados. Would you believe that? Right here, we are close to the area in which there was a shooting. There was a shooting in broad daylight, Oak Curtains gas station. 11:15 a.m. Police reporting that they got a call that an employee was shot, gunned down. Another person dead. Another young person on this island in their 40s shot. No more nighttime where people feel that there's a fear of being caught and hiding, but in the daytime where well, I don't even like to call people criminals, but it's a word that people use a lot. Because let me tell you, if I get deep into the definition of criminals, you will wonder who you might be sitting next to or who you might be dealing with that you don't even know might be a criminal. These people, right, are so bold in committing crimes now that they don't care if it is broad daylight. Because you know why? The government did not put a halt on it. All the government here is doing is trying to criminalize you with the ideas that they're coming up with. It seems to be a new agenda to just punish the citizens here in Barbados when you conceptualize what could be done for the people of Barbados, what could be done when dealing with quote-unquote criminals. So when you're dealing now with crime, they have not even come out with decent courtesy to really speak on crime enough to even offer sufficient condolences to the residents. And this is why I keep thinking in my mind, we have to reach the people to remind them consistently that it is necessary to come out and choose your representative wisely. I was canvassing in the community. Would you believe there was a lady that told me, I ain't even voting for my dog. I said, what kind of dog you got? It will gotta be a pit bull. She said to myself, there ain't nothing else on the other side of the fence for you to be saying that you ain't voting for. You saying you wouldn't even vote for your dog? Do you understand? Do you have children? Do you understand that when you say you're not voting, when this country is filled with crime rising every single day, and people are living in fear, and then tourism, which is the bread and butter of the nation, can't even bring people here to this island, you recognize that if you feel that you can manage your children suffering, your children finding it hard then to live in this society, is that the society that we want? A society where we have to live in fear? Am I talking to the public or Barbados? Am I talking to myself? This is not the society that we're building. A society built in fear. A society where you have not even have a conversation concerning rehabilitation more and more for youngsters who need help. You are not pushing rehabilitation enough. We are not mentoring our youth enough. We are not recognizing that we need to deter these youngsters from believing that crime is the answer to not having enough money in their pockets. Crime can never be the answer. And when you really get to meet these youngsters, persons who are committing these crimes, you will recognize that they too have a voice. It is essential even to sit and listen to them and hear their story. Because when I got the time, I made sure I listened. I've heard youngsters saying in this country, I've committed crimes because I have no money, because I've had no job. And I'm telling you, I'm not agreeing with it. But I'm telling you, if they are in a country that there is no opportunity and they are at their ends with, there's the possibility that all kinds of thoughts of crimes will enter the minds of the youth. That is our reality. You see, if you're sitting here, you don't understand what I just said, it means you really haven't suffered enough. Sometimes you could only understand why people do what they do when you actually walk in their shoes. It's only walking in the shoe. It's not driving in the AC and being exempted from the taint law. You're driving in your fancy cars and not understanding how it is to go eat corned beef and biscuit, and that's the only survival because that's all you could afford is the corned beef and biscuit or a little avocado pear to put on a biscuit to survive the rest of the night, or you go drink hot tea in order to survive the rest of the night because you have nothing and you don't want to ask your neighbor for anything because the cost of living is high here. We're not here just to criticize. I'm here telling you this is the reality that we live in. This is what's happening in our beautiful country, Barbados. I mean, you can have artists coming to our island and fantasizing and say, you know, this is Riados and this is Barbados, and they see the fancies of life with the beautiful beaches. But it's us who live here. It is us who feel the grain. It's us who feel the burdens. It is us. And if we don't speak out as a nation, let me tell you again and again and again, over and over, it is us who, when we vote wrong, we will feel the burden, every piece of it. This is why we need people in this country challenge legislation, properly conceptualize policies, properly look into the needs of the Barbadian people, and then make a decision on what is best for the people. And not just leave you behind and forget to have that conversation with you and to forget to listen to you. You know how many times I go online and I read the comments on the news? Because it is so important to get feedback. It is so essential to hear what is in the hearts of people. That's how you fix this country. That is how we fix Barbados. Look at what happened with the tint legislation. Huh? They are believing that a ZR van with tinted windows is the cause of the high crime here in Barbados. When you have men riding about on motorcycles committing crime, right? No tinting on that. Are they committing crime all the time? Right? No. Police visibility is not the solution to solving no crime in Barbados. Because when they try to lie on the police and say the police is who say to come up with it, I don't believe that, because the police was not faced with an issue. Don't lie on the officers. Right here in Barbados, if you want to talk about ZR van with tinted windows, remember Van Wick? When Van Wick was driving, y'all give him that name. He was driving and two armed robbers get in the car, and he became famous overnight when he was driving in the van trying to get away from them and shaking them off, right? All of that is Barbados crime rising in this nation. That had a thing to do with taint. Not one thing to do with taint. And then, hey, I want to read you this piece of legislation because no one will come after me and say that I misquote it. So I will read it tonight. And I'm going to read the Police Act, Chapter 167, Section 68 for you. Refusing to aid member of service assaulted. Section 68 reads as follows. Any person who, when called upon to aid and assist a member of the service who, while in the execution of his duty, is assaulted or resisted or in danger of being assaulted or resisted, refuses or neglects to aid and assist the member of the service, is guilty of an offense and is liable on summary conviction to a fine of $10,000 or to imprisonment for 1 year or to both. I want you that are sitting in here with us to know that this legislation was written for you, your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your cousin, your aunt, your whole family line. This piece of legislation was written for, right? Well, this legislation was written for the Bajan people. Because you know what? When it was written, I listened to the AG. Boy, he could be a good comedy show. We don't worry about Days of Release no more. Once you got the AG, make sure you click on and listen. He made sure that he talked about the interpretation that he made sure that he let you know that it was $100 and something early up. And then the Democratic Labour Party had increased it. And thereafter that, they increased the fine on you. And now the fine has increased to $10,000. I feel as though he added inflation, interest, everything, the cat, the dog, the coat. You added everything to make sure that you could put a fine on Barbadians, because you all in that government will not sit down and properly think of how to get revenue into this country in a way that you could bring in income and stop thinking about exporting and importing everything and start to look at things like agriculture and ways in this country that this country can make money. You are thinking that you have to make money off of the citizens in this country to punish the majority instead of the minority. That is the problem that I have, and that is the problem that the residents here in St. Philip West will have. Because if you don't aid and assist this ambiguous and vague legislation that was here, I call it amendment, for you, you will be the person that will be punished. And to me, the legislation does not even make proper room to bring clarity to the fact that if somebody intervenes to really assist someone, with a police officer, I wanted to say member of service instead of saying member of the force, but the AG made it clear that it has changed. It's not talking about the Barbados Police Force now. We're talking the right words. We're speaking the words of the Attorney General here. So I'm reminding you, if you decide to intervene and you use so much force, or you are injured, because there's a possibility that you could be injured too. You're not trained, you're not skilled to be a police, but here you have legislation forcing you to intervene in a matter where it's not even clear, because to me, having words saying called upon and to assist, to me, that's not clear. Because if I had to rewrite this legislation, I might add words like any person who, without lawful excuse, willfully refuses to provide reasonable assistance, because I find that sometimes when you're doing legislative drafting, not even sometimes, when you're doing legislative drafting, you need to be clear or not the law that you're trying to implement becomes so ambiguous and vague that it leaves confusion in the minds of the people, and you don't want to leave people feeling confused. And for the life of me, I do not think that that amount for a fine should be really right there in that legislation, because it is simply too high. You want to tell me just because I did not assist an officer, even if the judge in charge does not say 10,000, but he hit it at 10,000 and say, well, President of Friends of Democracy, you didn't assist the officer, so the fine that we have giving you today is 7,000. Not satisfactory. Where did you get that high jump from? I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it. Why it is that food so expensive in the supermarket, but suddenly we got $10,000. Where we get it from? Where on earth we jump from? Can't afford a little $300 because the salaries, we got survival salaries right now in the country where you have to rely on salary in order to survive, and it's so hard to keep savings in the bank account, and the bankers know it. I believe that the bankers will start with me and say, well, that is true. Because right there and then, you got an expensive life. Because as I said, they're not sitting and thinking, how do we lessen the bill in this country? We're just thinking, how do I burden people with more and more fines and get the money out of their pockets instead of implementing proper plans? And that's why we exist as Friends of Democracy. Because in Friends of Democracy, we make sure that we sit together, spend time as friends, deliberate on what ideas will be suitable based on what is happening in our country. And we talked about the abolition of the VAT, the value-added tax, 17.5%, the one that people promise you. Because when they walk around in this district, they say they are tired of the failed promises, and they've heard that before. Was it not supposed to be abolished ever since? We were promised that, and we are tired of the failed promises. So Friends of Democracy is here to remind you that we want to abolish the value-added tax on all goods. And we want to introduce a 16% tax on the goods at the port of entry. So guess what? in Barbados, you are being double taxed. And I will say every time I get this microphone, you are being double taxed. You are being double taxed because you are paying at the port when your goods come in, and then when you go into the supermarkets, you are being taxed again. Don't you want a food bill that is lesser? Many people think that everybody won't feel living like if they're living rich, you know, but really and truly a lot of us are very contented with as much as we can have, and we basically want to have a comfortable living. It's not everybody sitting thinking, I want to be rich, I want to be rich, I want to be wealthy. No, if you think so, you're lying to yourself. People want to live comfortable, and they want to live comfortable in their country. Comfortable enough that it is their right to be able to afford food at a reasonable prices. I tell people all the time that a hungry man is an angry man. Don't make no man hungry because he will get angry. And when he get angry, let me tell you, sometimes the head pop off and you don't know what next he will do. So, that implementation of that 16% tax on the goods will take the pressure off of every Barbadian. And that's not us thinking in a fairy tale to bring in something that is not possible. We know your questions. You're going to ask, when you do that, where else the money will come from? And believe me, friends of democracy have the answers for you. And that's why I'm here to tell you, come, listen to us, listen to our policies, hear what we have to say, because we are people who want to implement the policies that will work on behalf of the country. We need to find out the answers. And one of the things that was troubling to my heart, because I want to keep talking about what's happening in St. Philip West. Another issue is this issue with hit and runs in Barbados. I believe that in this country, we shall have the real-time digital messaging. When I was in the States, and I don't pull everything from the States, I'm pulling something from the States that I believe will be beneficial for Barbados. When I was in the States, there was a young lady who was kidnapped. And in no time on your phone, you receive an alert saying, kidnap, kidnap, look outside. You got the information one time. I believe that having something like that will help Barbados. We need the surveillance cameras, yes, so that people do not feel as though they can just commit a crime as such and then go along and get away with it. And I know sometimes in our minds we think, but it wasn't me. But I'm bringing Barbadians' mind back to that place where you recognize that what happens to one can happen to all. Look at what happened to that young man, Terrell Thompson. He was in a different island in the United Kingdom, and he was stabbed. And right now, I want to encourage even every Barbadian to get as much as you can have finances. Each one help one in this country. It's not even always about politics and political speeches. Sometimes I don't prepare no speech. I prepare to tell the truth. And the truth will always set us free. That young man was on a lot of different programs asking for help. And if this country had money instead of high debt, we would be able to just pay off that medical bill for him. He wouldn't have to go and do a GoFundMe. I know it's expensive, but I remember him in my heart, because if I want to go into Parliament, I have to remember the issues that people are facing, and I have to be able to have the capacity to help the lives of the people. And he is a young man, and I put myself in his shoes, that if it was me, I will want the help and the assistance, my God, to at least feel as though I could get back on my feet, to feel as though I could live a normal life. We need to get back to that place that what happens to one can happen to all. So say no today to laws that will punish you. Say no to it. And Barbadians, I am crying out to you to not be so passive, not be so drunken in the tradition of politics, that no matter what they do, you are going to still be a loyalist. And that is the basis of my point. Today, I'm driving it home that you cannot allow another 30-0. You have heard the candidates, you have heard our sportsmen say this before. You cannot allow another 30-0 in this country to pull this country down. My message is clear. It cannot happen, because if it does, remember, you will be running like a headless chicken from place to place, trying to get the tent meter to read the results that will be suitable to have the limited tent in this country. I honestly think that we are sleeping sometimes when it comes to these issues. Look at education. Look at the crisis that started right here from St. Philip West. Education reform. We cannot pull everything from America. We have to pull from America what will be suited for us. We cannot just choose an American system that has been heavily criticized and say that it is suitable for Barbados. Why choose the ideas that have failed in their system and try to put it in our system? Right now, there was a simulation exercise that the minister from this area did, Miss K. McConney, yes, I called the name. And that simulation exercise left fear in so many Barbadian students. And this is the problem in the country, is that people forget easily. But I am here as a reminder to keep this government accountable, because they have not found the answer yet to dealing with education. They do not even really know what mentally goes on in the minds of the young people in this country. What are their real struggles? They are not dealing with it effectively and efficiently at all. Do we recognize that there are many young people who finish school, they get the free education, but after they finish school, they end up without a job? When I go into this community, I've seen young people who are saying, I finished school, I finished UE, I would have done chemistry, I would have done biology. They did all kinds of subjects, and they rejoice, yes, because they're saying, oh yes, I don't have to pay a high bill for UE. But when I come out, what am I receiving? Are we forcing our youngsters out of the country to migrate and then take their skills out in a different territory where then we can't even benefit from them? Where they can't even give back to Barbados, where they have to forget this land because there was nothing offered for them to give them a better opportunity? Why should I finish school and still be sitting in a household with all of my skills and all of my value there bottled up in a house, instead of being able to have an opportunity? They need to have greater diversity and greater opportunities. Allow more internships to take place in this country, where young people will be able to use their minds before the AI takes over. Young people here need opportunity. They need to feel as though they are a part of this country and they can add value to it. That is why choosing right is important, because the these ministers have had so long in Parliament. And if I ask you today, what significant change was made? Many of you will say that not much improvement. I will never be a critic and say that it was zero. But I will tell the truth and say that we have busybodies right now that are looking as though that thing, the bus is moving, but then the bus is really going nowhere. If I stand here and I ask many of you, what would you like to see change right here in this country? Many of you recognize that that is the change that you need. Because we are not people who like dictatorship, and we are not people who want to be led by, as Oinata said, a despot. We are a people who crave democracy. As much debate as there is over what democracy is, I can tell you, we people like to know that there's freedom in this country, there is change in this country that will be meaningful, and that our voice is heard all over this nation. And it does not feel as though we are being oppressed and suppressed in this country. Too many times in this country, it is like decisions are made by one person, one man, or one woman. And right now, I can tell you the truth that many Barbadians are feeling as though the decisions are being made by just one person. No matter whoever you elected, that individual is still micromanaging every single minister. So you really and truly acknowledge that you voted for just one person. And that is the problem, you know. You are actually implicitly agreeing with me. When you say, when I canvass or go in the community and you are saying, we don't want one to just criticize, we want one to bring the solutions, you are actually agreeing with me that the government in which you have voted for don't have the solutions. Because if they had the solutions, you will not be asking somebody else for them. So then, if you're looking to Friends of Democracy for the solutions, I will advocate for Friends of Democracy to be the ones that will be in power and take over this country. If they hand it to us, we are going to take it. Because we as citizens know that enough is enough. We've had enough of the fake smiles and promises. We've had enough of them just telling us what itches the ear, but then after that, no meaningful change. And I'm driving it home to the minds of the public that we are tired in this country of the same old rhetoric. We are tired of hearing that you're going to fix the roads. We are tired of hearing that we have to wait for a lengthy time for the roads to be fixed. For you to mash up everybody SUV, everybody Grand Vitara, everybody little small Chevy that you're mashing up the roads with. And even when the roads are fixed, in a short matter of time, you recognize that when the rain falls, you know all the roads block up. I drive through St. George, and St. George full of water. I was like, I didn't know, did I blink and turn in the ocean? Why is it that so much water filling down there, even here in the west, there are roads that needs to be fixed? When the rain falls, roads full with water. We need proper drainage in this country. My spokespersons went out, it was 2 weeks ago or so, and they had the heart to say, we want to go into a community and clean. You know, all of my life living in this country, all of my life coming up in Barbados, I haven't seen a politician with a hoe and fixing any place. I have not seen it. If you have seen it, then that is great luxury for you. But for me, I have not seen it. Cutting bush and helping poor people in this country to have a better life. Because sometimes we are living at home, you just want to feel comfortable in that house. Not even a letter sent to the ministry to make things right, to help that individual who need better housing. Because the only time you will see them is when the game of hide and seek is done. And I will speak the truth. The hide and seek needs to end. Because when election bell rings, that is when you will see a lot of politicians just coming out. And it's just a trick because it's all about the vote. They're not going to take up the whole. They're not going to go and help people around the house to live a better life. But here you have a team, Friends of Democracy, asking around, do you need help with debushing? Even when it was in the community up here, I went around, I asked people, do you need help? What can I help with? You know, do you have any concerns in this area? Do you have anything, is there anything that you would like to see better in Barbados? What change would you like to see? Many of them said, hey, I would like to see a reduction in crime. Pensioners crying out, they're saying, but my pension obviously is fixed. And what's going to happen if this cost of living keeps rising? I could barely survive. Many of them are lonely in the houses because you know what? Barbados doesn't have a real structured plan for pensioners. And I will advocate for the pensioners in this country that I think is ridiculous that you have to wait till 67 in order to receive a pension. Because many of you know that many people died before that age and they have not even received their pension. And we need to be thinking about the pensioners more often because they are the vulnerable people in this society. We cannot forget the people that help labor in this land. When you lose heart and you forget the elderly, let me tell you, that is when you will find they will come into your house and rape them because they have lost moral values. They see them as just anybody else and not people who have toiled in the soil. That is the problem in this country. And as my friends say, even the disabled, those are people in this country that we cannot at all be forgetting. We need policies right there for them, and Friends of Democracy have those policies for them. There are women in this country too that I will never forget. They are crying out right here in the West. They are saying, hey, I'm having trouble with receiving maintenance. Sorry, man. But the truth is, some of you have to help the mothers. It's hard to carry a child for 9 months and then the same mother then have to go and pay an attorney at law in order to receive maintenance. So Friends of Democracy is implementing a policy that you should not have to go to the law courts to receive your maintenance. That is something that could be done at an administrative level. If we have to include the welfare department, then sure. But at the end of the day, you should not have to go through a lawyer to pay fees. You don't have the funds already, many of you, and then you then have to wait 3 weeks or so then to get to court there. And then, you know, sometimes what the fathers do, sometimes they don't turn up, and then you still end up waiting longer. Who you think is suffering in the midst of it? The child. The child suffers and so is the mother, but really and truly child maintenance is there for the child. I wouldn't encourage mothers to just take the maintenance either, and then you take the maintenance and you do your hair or you do something with the maintenance. Make sure that you take care of the child, which is the priority of having that policy implemented. I understand the men. I understand that some of the fathers may not be working, and that is why it's essential to deal with these things to an administrative level, because then that person will be able to bring proof and show, well, at this point of time, I'm having hard times, I'm not working, so I need time, or I can try to do a temporary job somewhere and see if I can get that work in order to pay the child maintenance. But both parents have a responsibility in this country. I'm adamant about it because of the shame that mothers have to go through, and even some fathers have to go through when it comes to getting custody, because in this country I have seen some parents try to spite the fathers too. Some mothers do it. They spite the fathers, you know, and tell themselves, "Me, you done? You ain't seeing that child." Don't feel like it don't happen. It's happened right here in Barbados. "Me, you done? You got somebody else who she thinks she is. She ain't touching my child." So then they forget the child. The child should never be punished in this country because of parenting. And that is why it's essential, even in this education system, to remember that this system is also made up of the child, the teachers, and the parents. So we need to get it right and properly decide how we can operate with those three involved to better this country and better the educational system to help to reform it. I will always advocate in this country that we in Barbados should live as though we are overseas. Because when we are overseas, we like to come back, and when we come back, we like to show off and say, "I had a good time in Canada, boy. I come back with an American accent, and I had a great time in America." We want people to come here in this country and feel as though I had a good time in Barbados. Barbados is the country to live in. Barbados represents the voices of the people. Barbados is the place where we don't have to be looking over our backs, frightened from crime. Barbados is a place where you can find friends of democracy and policies that will change this nation. It is Barbados. It's not just about B or D. Because when the election bell rings, and I say again, don't ever think that I come to repeat myself. I come to emphasize my point. When the election bell rings, we, friends of democracy, me as the president of this political party, wants you to carefully scrutinize every single member that will be on your front step that comes and say that they are coming for your votes, because the first question you should ask is, where are you coming from? Who are you? Were you here all the time? Or is this the first time that you're coming in this neighborhood? Because if you know that they were not canvassing, they were not checking for you before, put one X across the forehead in your mind. Just slash it. And remember that when you go into that ballot box, I will not be voting for that person. This is the problem in this society. When we're talking about voting, people only want to hear about voting when it's election time. I'm talking about voting all no. Because I have to reach the hearts of every Barbadian in this country for them to know that, oh no, you have the power. It is people over politics, not politics over people. It was never supposed to be just politics over people. It was always supposed to be meeting the needs of the people in this country. It was always supposed to be about you. It was always you that carried the power. If all of you stay home, then there will be no minister. If every one of us stay home when it comes to the election votes, there will be no election. This is not St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Because Ralph Gonsalves, clearly he's comfortable where he is, and he will have to be doing a good job for people to decide over and over that they're going to vote him in. But we Barbadians have a voice, and we recognize that we have a party here that will keep checks and balance on the government and there's no longer just a two-party here in Barbados. God has opened up a door where there's another party for you to choose from in this country. And I want the friends of democracy to make sure that they lift their voices up, lift the policies up in the faces and in the minds of every Barbadian, that Barbados will know what we have to offer, and that we're not just offering hot air and sweet talk, because hot air and sweet talk that's caused this nation to increase when it goes to the ears of a man or a woman. But we're not here for hot air or sweet talk. We are here to bring substance and be a substantive opposition of this country or win over this government. No, I'm wrapping up. In my wrapping up, I want to thank each and everyone from St. Philip West who was here today for coming out and supporting Friends of Democracy. I want to remind you that we are here for you, that the government can never shut my mouth. There's nobody that could put fear in me. There's no one out there that will victimize me from speaking, because I will speak until the day that I shall die, because God has put breath in me and no man was responsible for that. I want you to know also that we have competent spokespersons. You're going to see new faces out there representing this country. You're going to be hearing more from me. And apart from holding this mic in my hand, what is most important for me is the groundwork and getting out there on the front steps and canvassing and talking to people and making a difference behind the scenes. This is in front of the camera, but I can tell you that behind the scenes, I have spokespersons here who are going to work. We have candidates here who are willing to work and are making sure that they are going to put in the work, because we understand that Barbados needs a voice and Barbados needs someone who's going to speak on their behalf. So if it's up to me and all the candidates that will come through Friends of Democracy, I will stand on your behalf as the president to bring forth substance and make sure that we are the voice for Barbados and we are the right selection. I thank you for allowing me to be here at Clara's bar, to be able to lift my voice, to let you know more about us. I thank you. Everybody just give a round of applause for every speaker tonight who has added value and who will add value to this country. Thank you.
Now that was worth waiting for, wasn't it? Yeah. So I really don't like that little foolish applause that I'm hearing. Let's get some good applause. Yeah. Sound them more like it. Sound them more like it. Now I promised you a couple things this evening when I started. I promised that we would light some candles here this evening to dispel some darkness. Did we? Yes. You got information? Yes. We dispelled a lot of the myths and untruths. We caused you to reflect. Yes. And we told you of our plans. All right. Some of them, yes. And there will be others. But you got to stick with Friends of Democracy. So it's my pleasure now. We've been here for a while, and it's time for us to mingle and talk and share and encourage one another. So it's my pleasure now to thank some people. And you got to help me. I would want first to say thanks to our friend Rosemary Brewster. She invoked God's guidance to Friends of Democracy. She asked him to help us to strategize to bring Barbados back to a Christian and an upright country. Rosemary, thank you very much. Pastor Matthew Thorne started debating, really started debating. Got things hot fast. He exposed many of those untruths and the destructive behaviors and hidden agendas which are destroying our country. He shared several of Friends of Democracy's plans, especially on education and the need for consultation. He said a whole lot more, and I'm sure that you were paying attention. So let us thank him for his words this evening. I find it difficult to believe that this young man is a new member to Friends of Democracy. Yes. He was good, he was vibrant, he commanded attention, and I'm waiting for more, friend Walton. Your discourse on the three styles of democracy has been enlightening and inspirational, and I thank you, and we thank you, don't we? Yes. Now let me see if I get this right. Friend Raymond Wiggins, St. Michael Central? Got it right, I got it right. How long is too long, he asked, if it's good? But he showed us that it really wasn't as good as they were saying. He warned us of the normalization of criminality. He urged us to bring back the death penalty. He talked about the need for time for change and for Friends of Democracy to bring that change. He called for transparency and democracy, yes. And he told us of his experiences and of the future that he sees for Barbados through Friends of Democracy. Friend Raymond, I would not move you from where you are, but you could visit Darrell's Road every now and again. I would like that. So thank you very much. To friend Ricky Williams. Adwele. I love the historical context of the political landscape in Barbados that you brought. And that's something you do every time, and I look forward to it. And I'm sure that we all learned something this evening from friend Adwele, didn't we? Yeah. And he made us think. He spoke, yes, always does. He spoke about the disenfranchisement of black Barbadians, the waste of taxpayers' monies, and he particularly spoke about the importance of Friends of Democracy in bringing us back to some sort of normalcy, to having black Barbadians believe, feel, look like we are important and we are the ones who really made this country what it is. This rang got me to thinking, and I'm sure that you thought too. When he said, he spoke of the power of Jesus, but he also spoke of the importance of claiming our true identity. And for us, according to this friend, Friends of Democracy is a name given by God and a name that we need to live by and support. We support your call for change, friend Andrele, and for accountability. And we thank you very much. And we want you not to ever let us forget. That is very important. Thank you. Now our president spoke and we had to listen. She spoke, a woman of God, and she was fiery. Our president reminded us of the behaviors of the party loyalists, those non-voters, and she said those are the people who have the power. And you know, sometimes we don't think about these things. She explained the dangerousness of these two types that we've got to deal with. We need an opposition in Barbados, she said. The crime situation is out of control. The government is criminalizing citizens. And she warned us that we need to consciously choose our representatives and gave us all the reasons why. She reminded us, and I am going to say reminded us, that we are living in a society of fear, but also that we needed to mentor and to rehabilitate our youth and to give them reasons for wanting to build Barbados. She shared from the Police Act, and we would have been hearing persons talk about it, but actually hearing the language, it is frightening. And spoke about the laws gone mad, the VAT, the tax regimes, when all Barbadians really want to do is to live comfortably in their country. Friends of democracy has the answers. That is what our president said. And she asserted it. And that is what we want. Somebody who not only says something, but believes in what they say. That is what our president did for us this evening. She talked about the policies of the Friends of Democracy and explained why they would work. I particularly like the plea to say no to the drunkenness of politics. I'm going to capture that. Steal it. I love it. And that we cannot allow another 30-love in Barbados that would pull our country down. We need to keep the government accountable. And most of all, we need to have opportunities for our young people. I have so much more written that our president said, that I really wonder if she has time to unwind. You know, there are some people that their brains go and go and go and go and go and go and go. I wonder if she rests. Because I am sure, when I heard her, that she sits down and she thinks these things through. And we are all lucky this evening that she is our president. I did not hear at any point in time, if you elect me. I never heard that from her. She spoke about us, the collective, and what we can do together. We have a wonderful president. We have an exemplary president. Let us thank her. The Lord thank her for coming this evening and speaking with us, for spending the time to explain things to us, and for just being there. President Karina, we thank you very much. Let's show some love. Now, there's some things I want to share with you. One, I want you to listen out for a fundraising cruise, a get-to-know members cruise. It's coming soon in September. So we will give you the date. All you have to do really is get your partner or your partners who will accompany you. The next Front Step meeting is being planned for St. James South. And I want to remind you, because I know you would have been reading, that you can follow us on Facebook at FODBIM, all capitalized, and Instagram, and our handle there is Friends of Democracy. So we are inviting you to visit, like, and follow us. We want to thank those who joined us on the online platform. Those who listened within earshot of Clara's place, who might have been in their homes, didn't come out, but spent the time listening. And every single one of you who made the time to be here this evening. It looked during the course of the day as we were going to be having so much rain this evening that we would have. The president spoke about driving and wondering what happened with the water. I thought we were going to be doing something like that this evening. But the support and the commitment of the members showed, and you made yourselves here. You brought yourselves here. We want to thank each and every single one of you for being here. We want each one now to bring one, encourage others to come and join us. We have a mission. It looks right now as if only Friends of Democracy can save Barbados. Write your names on history's page. And there is a quote that somebody started that I would like to end for you. And it says, a hungry man is an angry man, and an angry man is an unreasonable man. And an unreasonable man is a difficult man to deal with. The words of Louis Cameron Seabrook. Think of it, reflect on it. Thank you. Refreshments are on sale. It was great having all of you here. Thank you for the wonderful support. We look forward to so much more of that. Time to get to know one another and to spend a little time mingling. Good evening to one of all. When you travel, please get home safely. And remember to spread the word. Friends of Democracy. We are there for Barbados.